Welcome to the Lost Lowdown podcast 176 with your hosts, Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
We're back, continuing our season 5 commentary series with episode 507, The Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham. Everyone's favorite character on Lost.
Who's Jeremy Bentham?
Great question. God, I remember when I first saw that title. It was just so weird to be like, is this a Nikki and Paulo thing? Like, what's going to happen here?
No, I think we knew who it was from season 4, because I think they established that he was going by Jeremy Bentham.
Oh, did we?
At the end of season 4, yeah.
Well, then I just invented a memory. That's fun.
Yeah, I think what had happened was.
Well, what had happened
was Kate. Well, it doesn't matter if it was Kate, but anyway, like various characters, including but not exclusive to Kate, referenced Jeremy Bentham, and we know that Jeremy Bentham is the person in the coffin.
Yeah,
and we find out at the end that it's Locke, which retroactively means that Jeremy Bentham is Locke, and then. I think it was The Lie this season where there was a little scene with Sawyer and Saeed. I'm sorry, Hurley and Saeed, where Saeed's like Bentham and Hurley's like, you mean Locke? And he's like, yes, I mean Locke.
Let's drop the charade, please.
Yeah, exactly. We're past that episode where we have to do
that. Oh man.
So yeah, anyway, just to say, I think we knew that it was going to be, because we knew Locke's dead, right? So I think we knew that this is going to be the episode that explains, how he died, basically. Which it does, among other things.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of like Meet Kevin Johnson, I would say, in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. It's like it's that whole thing of here's a person with an alias and they're also gonna die.
Yeah. Exactly. As soon as you take an alias, it's just a matter of time before you're dead. So there's a lot of stuff. I do want to do a little bit of deep digging or whatever. We can do that after the episode, as far as just comparing some of the stuff that was said and then what we actually see here. But another thing that I think is interesting about this episode that I remember hearing, although I haven't verified this, so if I'm wrong, oh well. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that the first scene in this episode that we're about to watch was actually considered or originally going to be the first scene of the season. So I mean, you remember how the season started, right? It's the record playing, and we see this guy getting up, and there's a baby, and gradually you see him, you realize it's Dharma, and then you realize it's Marvin Candle, aka Pierre Chang, and you see him make a video, and then he goes over to the Orchid Station, and then you see the little donkey wheel thing, and then you see Faraday pass by. That's what they went with in the end. But the first scene in this episode, I believe at one point was going to be the first scene in the season.
Interesting.
So yeah, we can just have that in mind as we watch this. Imagine what the season would be like if it started with this thing.
Oh man!
Instead of what they went. That I think right now, and seeing it, I might change my mind. I think that what they went with is more interesting from a plot and like sci-fi point of view. So I kind of understand why they did that. In terms of the show as a whole, though, I feel like, I mean, a lot of stuff in season 5 is kind of like this. It goes back to the thing you were saying about how they don't really clarify or even make a point of the idea that preventing the incident or lessening the incident, or whatever you want to say it was that they did, participating in the incident, you know, saved the island, saved the world, saved
Had any impact whatsoever?
something. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that, you know, like, I mean, that's what it all comes down to in the end. All the Dharma stuff, like, that's all that really happens,
Yeah.
ultimately. So I mean, I would say, like, looking through that lens, it does feel like a bit of you know, kind of one of those Lindelof teases where he makes that something seem like way more interesting than it really is.
Yeah.
You know, because it promises this really exciting exploration of, like, time travel and the properties of the island, and, you know, like, what we get are like hootenannies and, you know.
Yeah, we got LaFleur, you know. That's like the best thing we got was like a little opportunity for some Sawyer character development.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he doesn't remember her face.
Whose
Like,
face?
I'll never let him down, let him off the hook for that. That freckled face that you know, you think he'd remember forever. But 3 years later, damn, what she look like?
And then, just because he looked at that face,
This is the face he didn't remember.
at a moment, yeah, the face he didn't even remember, he
Yup.
happened to look at it again. That's
Just-
why.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I should just die because he's meant for her because he looked at her one time in 3 years.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah.
It's, oh my god.
Women,
Oh my
am I
God.
right?
That's
Sorry.
that's clearly
Just kidding.
that's clearly the takeaway.
It's male writers that are the problem.
So true. So true. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, the writing for that is really unfortunate. I feel like the Sawyer Juliet relationship works fine, and of course, like, conflict drives drama, and so, like, that's why Kate's gonna be the, you know. But they didn't really take it seriously. I mean, Sawyer and Kate didn't even have a relationship after that, so it's like, why just fuck around with it if it doesn't even matter? I mean, it just seems so, like, it trivializes that the character, like, that you have this pivotal event happen surrounding this interpretation of this one look that was, like, very unimportant.
Yeah. It's like, you know, Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships, and it's like the look that launched a nuclear bomb or something.
Exactly.
It's really, and all they had to do to make it work like 50% better would be to have Sawyer say, "I could never forget her face."
Yeah.
And then when he, you know, then when he sees her, it's like, yeah, he would always have love for her, no matter what time and distance separated them, and that I would obviously be threatening to Juliet. But to have those two incongruent things,
they didn't do that.
Yeah, like that. I mean, that wouldn't have made it perfect, but that would have made it more in line with what they were trying to do. And so, yeah, that's the biggest question. You know, we've kind of wrestled with this entire podcast the last 50 years. Is like, I'm only slightly exaggerating. It is those little turns, right? Those little areas where it's like, maybe you couldn't fix the whole season, maybe you couldn't fix the whole episode, but there's a particular storyline or plot thread or character moment that all you had to do was this thing, or all you had to do was the opposite, or all you had to do was go left instead of right, and it would have worked so much better. And so I always wonder, in those moments, or sort of that group of things that are like that, what caused them to go sort of the wrong way? You know, do they all, each of those things have a different reason they went that way, or is it just like, oh, they were too close to the material and they didn't see what we consider the obvious choice, or it's only obvious when you see the whole show, or, you know, like that it's because, like, that kind of thing is so specific. You know, you don't. Why would you say? I don't even remember what unless he was lying.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, maybe that could work. Like, he was just lying, but I forgot who he even said that to.
I did too. It was like, it seems like it should be some, like, counselor or something, but yeah, I have no idea who he's talking to.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out soon.
He didn't say that to Juliet, right?
No, he didn't say that to Juliet.
Okay. yeah. So anyway,
Although it might have been good for her to hear that.
right? That would have been pertinent. But again, back to your bigger point, though, like all of the time traveling, part of it is to get locked, off the island and all that kind of stuff, and set up that whole thing. But then the other part, in terms of the Dharma 70 stuff, yeah, the culmination is the incident, and all it was worth was them getting back to their present,
Yeah.
but not actually making it a bigger deal. Like, hey guys, we just saved the world, like that would have been important to know.
Yeah. It's I mean, I don't know. The Swan Station was like a never-ending like parade of bullshit, and it just feels like to go back to the incident and to just pile onto that with the like, yeah, the incident, eh.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine, whatever. I mean, it happened,
Mm-hmm.
Let's move
Whatever
on.
happened.
Yeah. I don't understand. I agree. I don't understand why they made certain choices. It does make me think about. I think something I've referenced like a lot on this podcast because it was shocking to me, and maybe insightful was back when Dexter's final season was on, which the final season of Dexter is really a good. I mean, go listen to our podcast. It on Mr. Podcast, it was like just some of the worst shit on TV, like that that was trying to be good. Like it was so terrible. And then the writers had a podcast, and the way they talked about the show, it was like they were just oblivious to how shitty it was. And they were reading in things that weren't really there. They were like over excited about things that weren't working at all. And they seem to miss like obvious points that made no sense or that detracted from the show as a whole. And so it really made me think that in that case it clearly was like they were too close to the material and they didn't really see how it came across for the show as a whole,
because they're A, in love with their own ideas, and B, they're filling in the details of why they made certain choices that don't come across on screen. But to them it's all working because they know the in-between details, but the audience doesn't get that, so it just looks like a mess, and they did that thing that happens a lot, that I guess it's just a writing impulse, to where it's like, oh, Harry's rules, but guess what? Somebody else came up with those. Isn't that a brilliant idea?
Yeah.
Isn't that a brilliant idea? All this time we thought it was Harry's rules. The most interesting thing about Harry the entire show. Let's just take that from him. So that great, if you ever want to rewatch the show, every time they mention Harry's rules, you can be reminded that those aren't his rules.
No. Yeah. No, it was this one-off character who gets killed and doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
it comes only in the final season.
Yeah,
it was her rules.
Yeah,
like great.
Thanks, guys.
That's a terrible decision, and it's a good example of coming up with a thing, but not really thinking about how it impacts the show as a whole.
Yeah, and there was a similar thing that happened with the last Star Wars movie, that I forgot where I was reading this, but it was this idea that writers generally want the most dramatic choice to happen, and that is generally what the audience wants, but there's times when the most dramatic choice is actually not what the audience wants. So there's this whole thing, and I'm just going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it out there, but this whole, I won't spoil it too harshly, whatever word I'm trying to say. And but this whole idea of one of the characters' parents, that was a big mystery with this new set of Star Wars movies, her parentage. And
they're going back to that.
Yeah, the question, she has Jedi skills, and we think, how she connected to the Skywalkers. And
they're trying to do Darth Vader again.
Similar, yeah, sort of a thing, and then you find out that in the height of this dramatic moment, she's told by her adversary that her parents are nobodies, and the director said, explaining that choice, which was a surprising choice to fans, he was basically saying that was the most dramatic thing that could happen to her in that moment, is to find out that she's not so special in that way. And the other thing they were trying to do
Right.
was to sort of open up this idea of Jedi-ness, that it is it sort of tied to bloodline. It doesn't have to be tied to bloodlines. Sort of anyone can be a Jedi, which is what about midichlorians? They haven't said that word in the whole new movies.
They're not talking
I
about
don't think that
that.
comes back up.
Okay.
But yeah, it's that idea that, like, hey, kids out there, you can be whatever you want, even a Jedi. But belying the fact that
Right.
there's something special
Sure.
about, even though, like, I'm not a Skywalker, but there's something special about rooting for a Skywalker, about rooting for that family and that those characters. For me at least, like, I didn't need the movie to, like, pander to me, for lack of a better word, and say even you can be a Jedi too. Like, it doesn't make the world more accessible to me at all.
Right.
And it just upends the sort of status quo that we knew. But anyway, the whole idea about, like, make the most dramatic choice in the moment isn't always the best choice for the audience. And I think you see that with the Dexter thing, it's like that too. Like, oh, that's a super dramatic choice. This wasn't even Harry's rules, because now it's like, oh, great, Dexter's up against the person who created the rules, who really knows him the best, but it's like, yeah, she's also a tertiary character, and, like, no one cares. Like, she's barely important, so I think Lost did that a lot too, where they sort of made the most dramatic choice, but wasn't necessarily the best choice for the audience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. I can see clear examples of that. That, I guess, that is a problem. And I think that goes to, like, uh some of the fans who would want, oh, I want an episode that, that talks about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
you know
I want to see the red shirts. I want to see what the red shirts are doing in the background. Oh, you do you? Well, here's Nikki and Paulo. You happy now?
Like, I think when you're watching a thing as a fan, and if you don't, pay attention necessarily to the way, like, stories are crafted, like, I think it is tempting to think, like, why can't you just do this? And it's like, you do have to
Mm-hmm.
understand, like, how storytelling works, and certain ideas, like, don't really function very well, in a dramatic context, even if they
Mm-hmm.
sound like they would be interesting to you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's something I thought about, in thinking about my loophole episode. Like, I think the main problem with my
Mm-hmm.
loophole episode is I don't have a dramatic arc for it. Like, it's really just
Yeah.
like,
It's Man in Black in front of a chalkboard diagramming his
yeah,
plan.
it's just like a bunch of scenes, like, tying together various strands and showing how he pulled off his loophole. But, like, that's not really an arc. There's no, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any dramatic tension there. It's kind of just, like, extended exposition, and, like,
That's like a best of, or what do they call those flashback episodes, on TV shows, where, like a clip
yeah,
show,
yeah, yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of like
It's
a
like a
clip
clip
show
show with
of
new
clips you've never
clips. Yeah,
saw.
exactly. It's like
Yeah.
those secret
Yeah.
clips that they kept back until
Mm-hmm.
now, because we didn't know that there was a loophole plan happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I always I felt like those strands should have been tied together better, but it is true that, like, and I feel like one episode would be enough to do that, but I don't actually have a vision for where the conflict is, like, how, you know what I mean? It's like there's, like, one character
Mm-hmm.
doing things, like, how is that gonna work? So I think, like, it's easy to think of, well, here's something I want to see on screen. It's harder to make that actually work, in a way that is gonna actually seem like compelling drama for viewers, And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I'll just acknowledge that, it's not an easy thing to do. And so, mistakes are made.
Mhm.
And also there's, I guess, the perverse like flip side of it is, sometimes the relentless pursuit of classic storytelling methods can actually ruin a story.
That's counterintuitive.
It is. It is. But it's sort of like
Mhm.
what you're saying, like making the most dramatic choice feels like the right decision story wise most of the time, but maybe sometimes it's not, you know.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
maybe have to.
Because there's other considerations. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to think a bit more and choose it carefully, and that can be like a rule of thumb, a general guideline, but yeah, in certain instances, especially, I mean, Harry's rules, like, you don't take that away. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just really stupid. I can't
Mhm.
ever watch Dexter again, I think. I
No.
have no
No.
interest
Why would
in
you?
watching Dexter
No.
again. And it's like, how could they ruin the whole show? Because I actually
Yep.
liked the first few seasons originally when I
Yep.
watched them, but they
Mhm.
retroactively ruined it.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yep.
that's really bad. That's really bad.
I think, yeah, and I think the other thing that ruined the show is Deborah being in love with.
Ugh. Again,
Yeah.
drama,
Yep.
but
Super dramatic choice.
But yeah, terrible idea.
Yep.
That was
Yep.
God. It was enough for
And
her to find
especially,
out. I don't know
it was enough
why.
for her to find out, and she's like, "Oh my god, my brother's a serial killer, and also I love him."
I love
It's like
him.
that's one too
Yeah,
many things.
it's too much.
Yeah.
They felt like they had to raise the stakes. Like, I don't
Hmm.
understand why they have to raise the stakes on my brother's a serial killer. Why isn't
Yeah.
that enough? It's crazy. It's
Back in
crazy.
my day, that a character finding out their brother was a serial killer was enough. But
They just had to
millennials.
overkill it. Yeah, totally. Millennials. They want it all.
Oh man.
And then the romantic plot didn't really go anywhere. So,
Well, thankfully.
well, I'm glad, but it's also like, why bother if you're not even, why
Yep.
bring it up if you're not going to do anything? It's like Nikki and
Yeah.
Paulo, like
Yeah.
their deaths they were shitty characters, but their deaths were also like really
Yeah. Then
abrupt and irritating.
it proves that it was a waste of time. Like, you
Yeah.
had a feeling it was a waste of time, and then the way they end the story is by proving it was a waste of time. So thanks.
Yeah. And then you put us through that for no reason. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Yeah, no, you're so right about that. That was, ugh. Ugh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Apart from the terrible villains, like, I think
Yep.
as far as like the core of the show, definitely the Harry and the Deborah were
Sorry,
the
I'm
worst.
just laughing at we're podcasting about Dexter.
Yeah, I know. I know.
All right, the life and death of
Yes.
Dexter. What was his name? Dexter
Morgan.
Morgan. Yeah, there we go. Morgan Bentham, same thing.
Yeah, it's close enough.
All right, let's get the show on the road. Sorry, everybody.
All right.
Hashtag tangent. But it was on topic with
It's
story TV
semi-relevant.
storytelling. Yes,
Exactly. There's always a thread there.
there's always a
You just
thread.
gotta follow the thread.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the episode.
So shall we transition to the episode?
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, everybody, get your players ready if you're going to sync up with us for some The Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham, aka Locke.
All right.
All right. Hopefully my headphones will work. Stand by. There we go. And here's the countdown.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Previously on Lost. Oh, what? Oh, man. Talk about wanting to shoot the messenger. Man, does Albert ever find out he's complicit in Locke's death?
I feel like retroactively he must, but I don't think he really acknowledges it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's the logical conclusion of the fact that Locke was actually not Locke.
Yeah.
Because he thought it was really Locke.
Yeah, he
You
was
know, he's
full.
like, oh, you will. You'll tell me that later. This all seems like it's spelling out the Man in Black's. That was almost my loophole episode right there.
That really was the closest thing they've done to just condensing all the major things that led up to this moment. Yeah. Man in Black specific.
And I didn't take it that way at the time. I didn't actually
Mhm.
understand that all of those messages were actually manipulations.
Well, how could you?
So here's the first scene of the season right here.
Okay, so we would start with a no-name character.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of similar.
Mm-hmm. He's searching for something. He didn't bring a flashlight?
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, old magazines. Or are they new magazines?
Ooh. Good point.
Okay, find something. There's a map of the island, clearly. And
Clearly.
literally,
Yeah, no, it's pretty clear.
yeah, some
Right.
symbols. Well, I'm hooked. Yeah, I already know that what they did is better. I already know. This would have been crazy. It's so much better that we already know these characters a little bit from the previous episode. Well, the flashlight came back. Plot point. A what? Those moments.
That was shocking.
Oof. Oh, wow. I'm having an interesting experience watching this because I'm thinking about it both where it is in the show now and what it would have been like in the beginning.
Yeah. See, like once this starts, it makes more sense as a first scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first part would be very weird.
Hiding the voice, as they always do.
Yeah, classic. He's got the hood on.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I feel like we need a whole podcast to just discuss what it would have meant to have that be the first scene of the season. It changes so many things. It changes so many things. It sets up this whole like Ajira crash way early.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I mean, there's so many little things it already sets up. We would have been thinking that was John. Like it did, like man, it's so weird.
Yeah. Episode 1 to go with Locke still alive would be kind of crazy since that's where we left off last time. Him in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Some woman. Pretty sure that was son.
Mm-hmm. Frankenson.
Yep.
That's an interesting connection back to the others. You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The list.
I mean, even the introduction of like he wasn't on the plane.
Yeah. About 2,000 years worth of stuff. And see, now I'm upset. Because this is the Locke I wanted. You know, this is what we
Yeah,
wanted. We wanted this guy who
I
knew and
know.
intuited these things, and he just figured out why he's in this suit, and he's, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
these little
Nope.
things. Nope.
Man in
Sorry, you
Black
didn't get that.
bullshit.
Yep.
It's weird because it feels like a Locke flashback, but it's actually a Man in Black flashback.
Yeah, that's weird.
And why does it matter?
And what do you want me to say besides that? Remember when Locke getting his legs hurt used to sort of mean like he was on the wrong path? I
Yeah.
wonder if that's why his legs hurt.
Didn't he just fall when he was?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, is that your point though?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when he's
Yeah.
on the wrong path, he has his leg issues or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Like he
That
should
could
take
have
that
been
as a sign.
intentional. Yeah. Yeah. And it does seem like it's often connected with smoke
Mm-hmm.
monster stuff.
Yeah.
They got cameras set up, which is
Yep.
interesting. I presume they were not there when Ben showed up. Oh, we talked about that, didn't
We
we?
talked about it all of it.
Like they should have been there because he knew Ben was
Yeah.
off the island somehow, but maybe he only knew because no, it was Sun knew. That was the problem. I mean, he actually visited Widmore, so it's not really a problem that Widmore knew. It was weird that
Yeah,
Sun
it's
knew.
it seems like it shouldn't have been there when Ben was there because Ben was trying to get the jump on him, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
he was trying to be covert that whole time.
right.
So this is basically the cameras are there because they're waiting for John
Yeah,
because they know he's going to be there at a certain point. So that begs the question.
sure does. It almost that seems like it implicates Widmore.
No, that's exactly what that means. That like he's somehow knows to be waiting for
He
him.
knows. Yeah, who told him to wait for a lot? Like what
Well,
the
there's
fuck?
only two people who could do that:
You're so
Jacob or
right.
Jacob or Men in Black.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't really think of that far. That's so weird. Has he seen the error of his ways yet?
Who? Oh,
I forget
Widmore.
when that happened. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to think of that. This could be the beginning of that because he is helping Locke, right? And you
Right.
know, and so someone told him to do that, right?
Right.
I forget how he explains it to him
All
later, but
right.
yeah, that's not scary. Yeah, and you know, Abaddon connects to Locke back when he was in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That's
so
true. He
that's
told
an
him to go on a
interesting.
walkabout.
Yeah.
One
So
of those moments I don't understand.
Is Abaddon Man in Black?
That's people thought that at the time. People thought he was a smoke monster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Which is interesting. I mean, we see him die, so I don't think there's any way he can be, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's strangely possible. And I do wonder, like, how did he get enlisted to? I mean, why did he tell Locke to go on a walkabout?
Yeah.
It's so strange. It seems like he was guiding him to be on the plane.
I think if the show had lasted longer, we could have been like had a weird thing where Walt from the future is Abaddon or
Oh,
something.
right.
Like a
Right.
surprise
I forgot about that
reveal
theory.
of why he's sort of so invested.
Right.
And Locke doesn't know who this is, right?
I guess not. Or does he? Oh, he's seen him. Oh, okay, never mind. He doesn't remember. He saw him on like Ben's shit, but I guess he doesn't remember. Oh, right. He also met him younger
That,
age.
yeah. And see, this was all feeding into it. All feeding into, like, Locke is special.
His specialness, yeah. Yeah.
Who are you?
But you punched a guy on a video once.
You're Satan. Oh, okay, that's right. Oh.
Oh.
I think my video had a hiccup.
Oh.
Let's see what happened. Am I really far behind?
No. I can catch up here or lag behind.
All right, let me know when you're synced up.
I think I'm back with you now.
Cool. Sorry, guys. Something happened.
It's lost a few seconds. If you just pause it for a few seconds. I understand you're lying to me. I do. There you go.
There we go. And synced. So
because of me.
It's all my doing, apparently. Also, I sent the freighter. Yeah, maybe you knew that. There we go. Answered straight and direct. Oh, that's his stupid answer. Forgot. Oh, man. Some BS about the end game. Thanks.
But Locke being back on the island actually helps Man in Black more than it does Jacob.
Oh, you think so? Maybe that's why Man in Black told Widmore to do this.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That makes it seem like did the Man in Black come to him and pretend to be Jacob? I wonder.
Yeah,
I wonder what exactly
if
happened.
If Widmore's never seen Jacob, then he can look like anybody and say I'm Jacob.
Exactly. Yeah, or say he's speaking for him or whatever, like he did as Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I feel like that could be a possibility. But yeah, the war coming is such a
because who else would do that? Who else would make Widmore do this, right? Like,
yeah.
Are you though? Maybe the future of the island holding company where all your wealth is, but
did you kill Nadia intentionally? I know Locke doesn't know to ask that, but God damn it.
But it'd be great if I could tell Saeed something on that.
But you didn't make any clear. I mean, Kimi wasn't like, Locke, I'll protect you.
Yeah. Because you've been tricked by the Man in Black.
Yeah, that means I have no answer.
Yep.
And yeah, I've been told I'm misinterpreting
it's
things.
just like, I'm just looking at them and it's like, they're just a couple of old guys who got conned.
It's totally true.
Some young whippersnapper. And it really connects to Locke's character, right? Because if anyone could get monumentally conned its Locke, and he
So
knows that
true.
from his dad. Like it's
Yeah.
his whole backstory is about how he's a he's a mark,
Yeah. No, you're right.
and Ben does it to him, and
Yep.
like it's just oh man,
Yep. Over and over again
yeah.
until he's
And
dead.
how did the writers reward him? Well, by first wanting to kill himself and then deciding not to, and then being murdered by his arch nemesis.
He couldn't even have the dignity of suicide. That would be
That was too good for
noble.
him. Yeah, it was he's beneath that somehow because he didn't have a horrible enough life.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, Walt. Please don't talk to me. Oh, Locke. Those are two words I know. And if I say them right now, you'll go there. Yeah, Locke doesn't know what he's doing. Oh.
No, not at all. He's just gonna. This is gonna be Locke failing over and over again. Hope you're ready for it. It's almost like torture porn.
It's like torture porn for human failure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really remarkable. All his most trusted friends and loved ones will deny him one by one in glorious locale after glorious locale. Follow me. And they juxtapose this with the Locke on the beach.
Yeah.
And we go, he did it. But we're actually going to see him not doing it.
Yep.
It's so interesting.
Exactly.
It's definitely interesting writing. Whether it's good TV, that's up to you to decide.
Who's manipulating you? There was.
Shannon?
You mean Shannon, right?
If it's anyone other than Shannon, the afterlife is going to be disappointment for you.
The best 9 months of my life. Are you serious? This is a line where it's like they fucked up in the Flash sideways.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't have had him say that if they're going to be like, nah, it's Shannon.
Mm-hmm. Because that was the best 9 days of his life. Hashtag low blow. Like, he didn't have any good arguments. It's deep down, we shouldn't have left. And he's like, no, you're wrong. And he's like,
and he's also like, we got to save them. And that's a fake thing that isn't even true.
Yep. And here's strike two.
Like turning the wheel saved him. Saved them, I should say. Like, that's done. They're alive.
You're already a hero, John. You see right through me, sir.
Did you read my file?
Oh, this is great.
Yep.
Like, yeah, they didn't forget about his character. That was nice to know.
Yeah. Yeah,
the Shining's kicking in.
I gotta go talk to a crazy old man.
Exactly. Now remember that island I was telling you about? Yeah. He taught me backgammon.
Were they about me? You sure it was me?
Well, nothing miraculous ever happened when you were around, so I won't take those words to mean anything.
Yeah, he just shrugs it off.
Like, ordinarily, John would love if somebody said I had dreamt some prophetic dream about you.
Yeah.
He's just like, next.
And he can't even like tell him that the freighter blew up.
Mm-hmm.
Like he definitely knows that happened.
Don't die now. Watch out for murderers. He's keeping score.
0-for-2. We're just getting started.
Don't tell me what I can't do. If he has some dishes, man, they'd be thrown. And then you get this shot.
Yeah, I remember being very confused by that. Like
it was a weird,
the way Ben's been portrayed this season, like it just struck me as odd to like ominous music and Ben's watching. Like, doesn't Ben want them to go back? He's just been trying to help them go back. It's like it's like weird.
They cut to like a season 3 bit or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it felt like such a dramatic shift. Like it was hard for me to understand.
Oh, that's sweet, John.
You can see them too?
Exactly. Oh, Susie, you're dead. That's right. I forgot you were dead.
Jack, Kate.
I know.
Kate, Jack.
Yeah, he went to medical school in the intervening time.
Babies. Oh, Red Hurley knows him.
Yeah.
Just because Abaddon was standing there.
He barely made his pitch, yeah.
He doesn't even know that he's evil. He just thought he was.
It's weird that so much of them going back was about saving the people who were left behind. And John, but that's right. He doesn't know that he saved them. Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even seem like he's saying, I guess, and that's what the other thing. It's been 3 years, right? So like,
yeah,
to John, the people on the island were just in trouble, but now it's been 3 years.
Right.
He has no idea the condition that they're in. Because if they've been going through what they were going through for 3 years,
they should be dead.
Yeah. Okay, so this is saying that Whitmore did an Alpert to John, that he visited him throughout of his life to get him to the island. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so Abaddon is an Alpert to...
Okay, like an other's emissary type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. More or less.
Yep. Just go straight to the skip the preamble. Wow, okay. I don't trust you, John. We're captivated by the drama.
This is weird. We already know this story, and I don't know. Is this for like viewers who didn't see those episodes?
I think it's a reminder because they're bringing her back up in this storyline.
Yeah.
And I think it's also sympathy for him.
Right.
That's a great line because you're like, how did she mean that? She meant
it was a no from the first line. I love that.
Yep.
I'll listen to you talk, but it's still no.
Mm-hmm. They're all alive.
Yeah. This definitely seems like the simplest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Helen doesn't have any stakes in the island.
She's just gonna
back.
say it was good seeing you, John. Bye. Like,
yeah.
not, I mean,
Oh.
or did like Abaddon kill her because they need him to go back to the island, and if she's alive, she's a threat to him staying.
That's a nice sinister theory. I like that.
I just, he's so insistent about this, and it seems like that could have been the next turn in this plot, is that he finds out he lied to him and she is alive.
Yeah.
Why were you keeping her away from me? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why Ben was so sinister.
Yeah.
Well, that's not like my instinct is to help him. My instinct is to run away.
Run.
Because clearly they're after me. Narcissist much? Jeez. Like, for all they know, he was all he knows, Abaddon was the target, and the killer's gone.
And now he's gonna cause all this destruction.
Yep, for absolutely no reason.
I think Abaddon was the target.
Yeah.
So yeah. But hey, gets him to the hospital.
But I was just gonna say, gets him to the hospital.
So it's almost a coincidence that he sees Jack. Like, that's kind of weird. Like, he didn't actually go visit Jack.
I guess he had planned to, but
Yeah. When you left the island, a lot of bad things happened.
Yeah.
He's not going to say that.
I'm changing hospitals right now.
And it was your fault.
Oh God, don't start there. So remind me of Jack's mental state here.
This is
He's not,
before the spiral.
but the spiral's coming.
The spiral's coming. You can see
So
the
he's already
beard starting to
drinking.
grow in. The
He's
beard is
already
sort of.
drinking,
Yeah, he's drinking.
but he's not going on flights yet.
No. That'll be
Okay.
after he finds out Locke's dead.
Oh, so it wasn't until Locke's dead that he started going on the plane,
Yeah.
trying to get back. Oh, okay, okay. I guess I should have been paying attention to what he was saying there, but this is important. About Aaron. Before I cry some more.
I think actually I have it wrong because I think he found out that Locke was dead while he was on one of the planes.
Yeah,
So
I
I
do.
think he
Yeah,
starts doing his plane thing after this.
So it's interesting because it's. I thought he was sort of already knowing that he was unhappy and maybe not knowing he wanted to go back, but and then Locke's death put him over the edge with that, and he was
Yeah.
convinced of it.
Yeah.
God, it's so sad. This whole thing. I don't even want to watch this part.
Yeah, this is the
Don't.
worst.
I mean, it starts with "I wish you had believed me." Like I just the worst suicide note there is.
Yeah. 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 Even the suicide note can't be like convincing or
You can't do anything right. Not even a nice hotel.
No, it's a terrible hotel. Of course. Good thing that was like already rotting away.
Yeah, it gave him that idea. He's like, oh, that's a good place for it. I always appreciate he brought the wire cutters because, like, without that, this plan wouldn't have worked, right?
Yeah, no, good.
You can't tie a knot without cutting that end off. So,
does he know how to tie the hangman knot? That's I don't know
this
how to do
is
that
John throws knives in the woods, hunts boars. Locke, you're talking about here.
one.
I mean, he used to be.
I guess that's the last cool thing he does.
This is the last cool thing. It's tying a noose around his neck. Well, it's a very well made noose.
Too bad he doesn't get to use it.
No. Room service. Do you need more pillows? This is like the worst way to be found ever.
I know.
He's like, I'd rather be nude right now than like
So
about to
awkward.
kill myself. Oh, me? I wasn't about to kill
What gave you that idea?
It's not what it looks like. But see, Woodward was the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's really selling it.
Yeah, they want the same thing, but different reasons.
Yeah.
And Whitmore, I don't think he'd never said anything about him going back to the island. He said Locke needs to be there.
That's true.
Oh no. You sound like my
Classic.
mother.
Oh God, this is horrible.
This is so bad.
This is horrible.
He's so sad and desperate and pathetic that he has to get Ben to talk him off the ledge that he's gonna end up pushing him off of.
Yeah.
He has to have him validate his existence for the brief moment before he kills him.
I know.
Shakespeare's like low blow, like that's tough. Like wow. I thought I wrote tragedies.
Yeah, he just said Jack booked a ticket after the meeting, so I think that confirms what we were saying.
There it is. But why, Jack? You're like, oh, I gotta go back, but not with Locke?
Yeah, I know. It's so lame. Like, call him up.
Is that the wish you had believed me because he did believe him, but just sort of didn't want to acknowledge it? Maybe that's what that is supposed to connect to?
I guess so, yeah.
Let me do it. Yeah, this is the most evil thing Ben ever does.
This is really terrible.
I mean, it's like elder abuse. It's like there's like layers here of horribleness.
He gets to see Locke have this breakdown. Like it's so unfair.
He's talking him up. This is the worst part.
Yeah.
Like a bullet to the head is more humane.
Oh, here's the ring thing.
And I promise to do the opposite. So is it like, on the one hand, Ben wants Locke to get back to the island because he thinks that's what Jacob wants, but he also wants to kill Locke because he wants to be in control?
I think so. There it is.
Yep. And it's weird to me that like Ben goes, well, that's all I needed to know. Like,
Yeah,
there's no other hurdles to
that
getting
was
back to the
it.
island. And you think she'd be the obvious choice.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's a bit strange. Like he had no idea who to go to before this.
Wow. This is why Jacob never liked you.
I know, right?
It's things like this, Ben. Jeez. I mean, if he had ever stopped to look in on what you were doing.
Yeah, have you watched a highlights reel from your life?
And then this shot. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. This
Wow.
is, yeah. there
I'm like, what are we supposed to think about Ben here?
it is. I assume we're supposed to think he's the worst.
But we follow him, like we.
Well, okay. I guess the other
Oh, this shot. Oh
interpretation.
no. Oh no. Yeah, this is him peeing on the grave.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other interpretation would be that going along with the idea that he has to die. That he's doing this because he knows that Locke had to die to
Hmm.
save
But
everyone or whatever.
why? But I don't buy that in the exact moment he killed him though, because it was
It's not
once he
true.
knew.
It's not true, but I think the
Okay.
audience
Yeah.
could think that. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So now we're back to this,
Yep.
and we're like,
It was a long flashback.
and we're supposed to think, okay, bit. We just saw Locke hanging, and now he's back alive.
Yeah. That's the implication. Actually, I want to leave.
I would have liked to have left. Is it?
It's not.
But I do wonder how much does he know? Like how much of that process, like what exactly happened?
Yeah.
We call him Curly. Sounds like the sudden departure.
It does.
Hmm. Hope it's no one of note.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll just be red shirts.
That's the man that killed me. Yeah, too bad that's not exactly what happened there. I think that reminds me that the other thing they don't really get to play up is exactly what we are thinking we're seeing, right? That, oh man, like that thing that never happens, right? When someone kills you and you come back to life, like
Yeah, right.
now we're in that situation where he can come back and seek his vengeance for just getting brutally murdered.
Yeah,
But it's not Locke,
yeah,
so it's just like this fake version of that.
yeah.
He's not filled with vengeance against him for
No,
killing him because he
he
didn't
wants to
kill
use
him.
them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a really weird thing that little moment makes us think we're gonna get. Like finally, Locke has the upper hand, and
Definitely.
um,
Yeah, yeah, it's so manipulative. I feel like the writers are like the Man in Black. Like they really fuck with the audience's
mm-hmm,
desires, and the fact that they just put us through all that shit with Locke. It's like it's so you know abject. I guess like you would think like there's got to be some kind of some kind of redemption for this character. There's got to be some
mm-hmm.
kind of victory or triumph or something, and this idea
And
that
it
he
seems
came
to
back to
come.
life, yeah, it feels like that's
It
what
seems
it
to come.
is.
It actually lessens the impact of his death because the very next scene
It
is we're back
does.
to his triumph and he's alive, and you go, "Oh, okay, I don't really have to process how horrible
Yeah,
that death was." But it's not until you find out later that no, that is when he died, and
yeah,
he isn't ever coming back. That you're like, "Oh crap, I didn't actually get to like process
yeah,
that back then."
yeah. It was a real death scene. Yeah, and it's so much later that you realize that
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's you've lost the. I do think that's a shame. For a major character to death to be to kind of not get the weight that it should have
Mm-hmm.
because of this like game they're playing,
Yeah.
you know. In addition to everything else that's frustrating about it.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, 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 it's setting the stage for a show that will never happen, and then Locke comes back and he's super cool and he
Yep.
fulfills his destiny and
Mm-hmm. He saves his friends.
saves his friends,
Yeah. Yeah, he
communes
finds
with the
love.
island,
He
of
whatever.
course.
Yeah, yeah, that'll never happen to him because of some reason.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
don't
what he
know.
did, but it wasn't good. Yeah, it's interesting to doing this rewatch and to see Man in Black's plan and to see how much of it is laid out in this episode and the big turning point of all these pieces coming into play and and that's why Man in Black said you'll have to die because he knew Locke couldn't convince them with his words or feelings, and that's what it was going to take. So he knew Locke was going to fail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess all he can do. um I'm trying to think. Well, no, I don't quite know how the scanning works. But he has Locke's memories. I think when he says I remember dying, well, he says that's the man who killed me, so that shows that he does remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he knows that Locke's dead. Um he knows how Locke died, I guess, and that
Mm-hmm.
Locke was dead and so on. And I guess he's just assuming that he came on in the coffin, or he actually found the coffin, um and scanned the body first. Uh that was
Mm.
that was the assumption I made later. Like, how did he get the memories otherwise?
Yeah.
Um because he shouldn't be able to just, right? I mean, I guess I don't know how it works, but
Mm-hmm.
I would think it's not as simple as like I take this person's form and I instantly know everything they ever knew. It just seems weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, and then finding out that some of the people disappeared, and like now that Ben's there, if he does any kind of scan, which I guess Ben gets judged, so at the very least, like he could have done a scan at that point. I think at that point he should pretty much know, you know, everything that happened with Locke
Mm-hmm.
post death. You know, because like he shouldn't be able to know that from Locke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'd have to get that from somebody else. And I feel like Ben's really the custodian for Locke's body.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and depending on how how Man in Black could have time traveled, he could theoretically have shared some of the information somehow with his past self or something.
Oh God.
That's the weird part is
Oh
like
God.
the Man in Black talking to Man in Black throughout the loophole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That part is very strange.
That actually made me think you were talking about a narrative or a dramatic thread to your loophole episode idea, where it's just sort of all the scenes that are about some of which we saw here, but we didn't know Man in Black were doing them.
Right.
But I was thinking about what could be a dramatic sort of thread to see all those, and it could be a Man in Black from the future coming to a Man in Black in the past and going, okay, this is what you have to do.
Oh, okay.
Basically giving him a mission and telling him sort of the things he's got to do, and then you could get some conflict through there where he's just sort of being used by his future self or
Oh
something.
God, the
And he wants to...
Man in Black himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimate loophole.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how Man in Black turns into Locke. That the couple lines where he was like, it was interesting when he was kind of saying he didn't remember, but you don't really know if he's lying or not. But if it's just as simple as so how does he even know the coffin's on the island? Question one, where to find it? Question two, but he finds Locke's coffin.
Yeah.
And he opens it up and he's like, I knew it. This was too easy. And
here it is. Just what I ordered.
Yeah, you're more on time than FedEx. Wow. Everything but a tracking number. And so then he scans it, and then he morphs into Locke, and then at that moment he can never change again.
I think no, that's not true because he's gonna be Alex later. But I think he can't change after Jacob dies. I think that's what Alana says.
Oh.
I think so. So yeah, I think he can, and he's Christian again too. He's not done Christianing.
Oh, that's right. He goes back and forth for a while.
Yeah, he's flipping around still.
Okay.
And they just wanted to handicap him for the final season.
So it's nothing special yet. It's he's doing his normal Man in Black stuff right now.
I think
Dead body scan. I can turn into them, and I can still be Smoke Monster. I can still be Christian. I can do whatever. Okay.
Yeah. He might even. We got to pay attention to the timeline. So they established that Sun and Frank left, right? And they're going to go to the barracks, I believe, and they're going to meet with Christian there. So I think if we pay attention to the timeline, it's going to mean that he's kind of in two places at once. So add it to the list of powers.
Yeah, maybe that's why there's two Man in Blacks.
Hey, it does tie in with your
two men in black.
Men's in black.
Men's in black. Yeah, man's in black. Man's in black.
Man's in black.
Yeah. Men's in blacks. Yeah, hey. I could be convinced of my own idea. I'll buy it.
Yeah, that's interesting. The idea that it was like one of them is Man in Black from the future, and one of them is like old, like past. Oh, that's so weird. It's so weird, but it's like that is kind of in the story anyway, so it's not totally weird.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Remember that time? Smokey turned it in 3 pieces. Remember that whole thing?
Exactly. Yeah.
3 Men's in Black.
At the Sonic Fest? Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, it is true that a lot of the threads from season 4 and 5 are pretty pretty well documented in terms of what he was doing. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I guess some of the stuff I wanted to like get a little bit of clarification on was like the cabin.
The what now?
In particular.
Never heard of it.
See, there's this place called the Cabin.
Oh, it sounds great and not riddled with plot holes.
And like the first visit, like how did that happen? Like Ben's mother, like there was some, I mean, the initial appearance to Jack. There were some elements of things, the stuff with Echo, of things that he did that I guess I wanted a little bit of more of a clear thread of how that all fits, in terms of the overall plan, because I think it could work, and we've talked about, I'm sure, at some point in all these hours, various ways in which it could make sense. But I just feel like the show kind of owed it to us, since that's in a way like the larger narrative of all of the stuff.
I think that's the problem is they can't give us that because they can't reveal that is the larger narrative yet. I think it goes back to that thing where you by them playing this complicated narrative game with their structure, you win some things and you lose some things, and I think that's what you lose. Is the same way you lose the impact of Locke's death at the moment it happens, because later you find out oh that's not him. Okay, so it's the same thing where they're playing this long game with who this character is. It's unfortunate.
You're right. It's sort of like by the time it's safe to tell us, it's kind of perfunctory, I guess. Like he did it and it's over. So it's just kind of like it just be for your information, but it wouldn't have a vital, like if he had tried to recruit somebody, or if there had been like, I got to convince you, if there had been some stakes for why he has to explain the loophole, like if he tried to actually explain it to Ben instead of doing what he does, which is standard manipulate him in classic loophole fashion. There's because otherwise it's just it doesn't necessarily advance the story. But I don't know, I mean, we got Abaturno. I mean, this didn't really advance the story, it just told us some background. So I feel like there was room for it potentially.
There was room for it. It was all that crap in his cave. That's when he instead of like pointing out, Jacob and I played chess, and here's all the names on the wall, and I would cross them out. It's like, here's my loophole. And it's a cave full of diagrams and flowcharts and timelines and formulas and like the whole like string connecting different things, the classic image.
Oh my god!
Oh
my god! And he's explaining it to Sawyer, so at the end he can be like, "That's a long."
Talk about a long. He tips his hat. Yeah, I mean that's the show I want to see.
Like it actually makes sense because Sawyer could appreciate that.
He's like, I thought my con was long. Wow. I think that's what we should have got, and it could have like culminated in, and these are the candidates, and blah blah blah.
Right.
But it should have. That would have been the moment to reveal his grand master plan. Because he had one, but he never told us that. We just see evidence of it, right? I think that's the problem. It's almost like it almost goes to like when he runs Son into a tree, and he's like, "Son, I didn't run you into no tree." It's kind of like, no, I didn't have a grand master plan to manipulate all the characters on the show to my own maniacal ends. It's almost like he doesn't really get the credit he deserves for how grand the plan is, because like I was saying, they lose the ability to tell us that in real time that that's what's happening, because they have to save that reveal for the end.
Right.
And then you forget all the details that, like, this, all these little things, even Whitmore's part of it, right? Like, I remember when originally seeing this episode, and I feel like I didn't understand how or why Whitmore was doing what he was doing. And obviously it comes down to there's a war coming.
Yeah.
Which is basically like, we're going to build an army. It's just kind of like, okay, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Have fun with Seamus and Zoe.
Yeah. Your war captains. Oh, geez. But yeah, but being able to see now, like, it's very likely that Man in Black came to Widmore in some form and was like, hey, you need to do this thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it. And now I'm like, did Jacob even go see what's her name? Zulenka, what's her name?
Alana.
I'm like, was that Man in Black? Can Man in Black look
Oh,
like
God.
Jacob? Like, I'm calling it into question now.
Yikes. That's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's why they cut the scene that says he was her dad, because
right.
they're like, no, this is secretly Man in Black, so we don't want to say that.
Oh, God, I can't believe they were going to do that. That's so weird. I think the closest they get, and I think the thing that tantalizes me a little bit about the loophole, in addition to just the more obvious reasons, is the only lines we get about it, in the final episode of the season, the only time loophole is ever mentioned, never before and never after, but it's framed, the whole episode is framed as what, one day I'm going to find my loophole, and then I see you found your loophole, and he says, yeah, I did, and you have no idea what I've been through to be here. I feel like that makes
and then
me want to know.
it should have gone whoosh. Yeah
Exactly. Yeah, that feels like that there's a story there.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating to me that it was never told.
It's across the sea part 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where did he go from there? And that's just I hate that it's just annoying that like across the sea is it has its problems, and I'm not really happy with it, but it has a function, and I get why they did it, and I'm fine that they did that episode. It's really Apaturno that I question more.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like Apaturno is the one where we could have had a loophole instead of that, and it's way more important to the storyline.
Didn't you love that episode at the time?
Just maybe.
I kind of feel like I have a memory of me going, "This was horrible," and you were going, "I love it."
You might be right, and you're probably right. And I did like some things about it. I thought there were some interesting things they were able to incorporate, but ultimately, I guess when you watch an episode, you can't. Well, it's harder to step back and really see how it fits into the whole thing. And I think in retrospect, I don't think it was a bad episode, but it was sure, they did a lot of episodes that were waste of time, but just in terms of where could they have put this in season 6? To me,
it would have.
That would be some, because it's a mythology centric episode that also doesn't give us what it tells us is actually kind of just unhelpful. The whole cork thing.
No one was like,
things.
that stuff. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part of it. Yeah, setting up that whole backstory. That could have totally been Man in Black's whole thing. Yeah. That would have fit. That would have fit pretty well. And I think that's the other thing that they were missing, is giving us more. That would have made Man in Black's character a lot more interesting if we got a loophole episode around that time in season 6, right before the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It would have put that stuff in, put the current stuff that was happening then into context. And I think it would have added some dramatic weight to the character. Because I think he does get kind of lame and generic in season 6.
Yeah.
And putting the loophole plan can remind us of how crazy and kind of cool his powers and his plans were.
And again, raising the stakes for him to be like, this is how much I need to get off this island. I did all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be stopped by Jack Shepherd.
Right.
And that was the thing that was missing was really being invested in him getting off the island. We didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's a whole can of worms right there. I mean, if we actually could sympathize with his, and I think Across the Sea tried to do that. The problem, the problem, as you know, is that Across the Sea framed his desire to get off the island from the perspective of before he was the smoke monster, and sure, we can sympathize with that.
Yep.
But he changed it to a smoke monster, and with Jacob's speech about the cork and all this stuff, it sort of raises this issue of, is it actually safe for you to leave the island? Do you care? That he's not even confronted with that on screen, which is insane.
No.
And that, to me, I mean, his desire to leave and the reason why he shouldn't leave. I mean, these are things that should have been addressed in some form. And I think they could be included in the loophole episode, probably towards the beginning, but there needs to be clear, context. Why won't you let me leave? What do you think is going to happen if I leave, And
I mean, a great line would be, if you leave, it'll all end. Oh, did Mother tell you that? She was a liar. We had a crazy mother. What else did she lie about? You know what I mean? Address it and say, I don't believe it.
She said there were no other people. She said the island was the only thing in the world.
Yeah.
She didn't tell us that she murdered our mother.
Exactly.
Why are you?
Yeah. Yep.
Why are you accepting her bullshit? And if it's just something you made up, how do you know?
Yeah.
You saw a smoke monster cloud and now you're just convinced it's evil for
what I got a little smoky and now you're upset? It's it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot of assumptions.
Whereas the Alfred episode is kind of just a retread of what we're seeing now with Ben. Basically he tries to get Albert to kill Jacob the same way he tries to get Ben to kill Jacob. He appears as someone they know who died, and uses that image to convince him to go kill Jacob. It's
that would have been a great line at the end of that episode when he fails to get Albert to kill Jacob and cut the Man in Black. He's like, I'm gonna need a bigger loophole.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that'd been great. Yeah, well, I think my new favorite phrase is going to be, maybe they'll do that in the reboot.
Yeah, it's just, I would love to hope for that, and who knows? I mean, crazy things can happen. Maybe the right person can get in charge of the reboot and actually understands both what made the show good and what didn't work, and can actually fashion a version of the show that that works better. Theoretically, I have to admit that that's possible.
You're clearly talking about us. You've just nominated us to do it.
I do think that, yeah,
I mean, hey, ABC, I mean, just throwing it out there, maybe.
we're available.
Let's just put it that way, yeah. Not while we're podcasting, but...
No, not literally now, but the now when you're hearing this. Let's say.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But unfortunately, reboots seem to go the way of, no, we got to do something totally different. And that includes the stuff that was actually good.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing ends up being worse overall. Because it loses the things that were good and it doesn't necessarily replace them with anything that's better.
Yeah, it's like they make a list of the stuff that made the show work originally, and then they accidentally rename it "List of Things Not to Do."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because I do think like you could preserve like the spirit of the show and a lot of aspects of the show and still have it function better without all of these like really pointless tangents.
So if they were going to do a reboot, I'm just thinking, like, for me, I wouldn't want to see, I obviously wouldn't want to see another cast on the same island during the same time period, and it's like, oh, we just never ran into everybody else. And I wouldn't want to see the same island in the future with the same backstory, right? Like, oh, they find the imploded Swan Station, or something. It's like, I don't think that's
Hurley now.
Yeah, it's like Hurley's the Jacob dude.
I don't know if that
was like, he's like, help me, man. I'm like trapped in this cabin, dude. Oh man. So like I wouldn't want to see that.
Right. No, I agree.
So I'm thinking the next best thing is there's another island that has its own backstory. It's connected to these pockets of energy.
So you really you don't want to reboot. You want to actually continue the story in some way and leave Lost alone as it was.
Oops, you found me out. I don't want them to ruin my favorite thing. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I don't want them to meddle with it. But I don't want them to do something so completely different that it has nothing to do with Lost.
Right.
I think there's room to explore what could have happened on other islands with other people. But I do think the problem with the Lost reboot is 90% of the show, when you're stuck on an island, is the same no matter what show it is. So there's just going to be a lot of the same drama, a lot of the same conflicts, a lot of the same set pieces, a lot of the, so they're going to be retreading things just because of the circumstance and the setting and stuff. So that's kind of, so part of me would want to see it, a version of Lost, but they get off the island real fast or something.
Right.
Or they're trying to get to the island. I don't know. But something they'd have to really spin it to where it's not just sort of visually boring and the same as Lost,
Right.
Like, don't go film in Hawaii again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pick another island.
It's in a jungle or something, or well, that's gonna look very similar, but
yeah,
some other location.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'd want to see.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do think that forgetting about character development and all that, I think they could have, left the island sooner. I think it would have been fine. Because, looking back, it's pretty clear that seasons 1 through 3 like kind of tread water as far as advancing the story. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's a certain extent of they have to like establish the location and they have to kind of build the mystery, and you know, there's obviously the
Mm-hmm.
others. Although, you know, it really does start to seem we've already passed the point where it seems like they don't know what to do with the others anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just these kind of annoying people hanging around that like they have to cope with because they wrote them
Yep.
in, but
Yep.
like they don't really have anything interesting for them to do anymore.
And the others have nothing interesting to do for themselves.
It is sort of like maybe the others should have been killed off, and then they leave the island, and
Mm-hmm.
like all of that could have been like wrapped up more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you even need Dharma, even though like Dharma, you know, is like a signature thing from the show. But like, you know, depending on how much you want to pare it down, it's turning into a mini series at this point.
Yeah, I think you don't do Dharma. You do another organization that had a completely different response to the magical
Okay,
properties on the island
but
and
you do
left
an
their.
organization, you do a Dharma.
You do some sort of culture. Yeah, you do something that has left relics behind or
Do you
and
do the
has
others as well, or
probably you do something like the others because it's you probably want to have some other characters that are in conflict on the island. Um, yeah, or you could sort of do a thing where the people who get to the island want to be on the island, and and then the conflict becomes they're protecting it from other people who come to the island. So I mean, you could do a real Widmore thing where Widmore was never sort of necessarily a person on the island who knew about it, but he's like what they tried to make him, just the classical like explorer who's trying to
mm-hmm,
sort of find the next, Jurassic Park or something,
right?
and and this is the perfect location, and they have to sort of defend the island against outside threats. Maybe that's kind of the twist
Mm-hmm.
on the dynamic, but yeah,
Almost
I
like
think you
they're the
probably
others.
yeah, exactly. They would be the others. Like they're maybe the first big group on the island or the first
Mm-hmm.
group that's alive, right now. And um yeah, that's probably a way you'd want to go. So you're not just following like a new group of losties on an island. You're
Right,
following
right.
like the native people sort of on the island, and then like maybe yeah, maybe it's kind of like that version of the others where they're just having their normal society and a plane crashes and they have to sort of
Mm-hmm.
deal with it.
Right, right. Like, yeah, the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
season 3.
Mm-hmm. And then we get the flashbacks of who are these people on this island and how did they get there, and
Mm-hmm.
and then how are they different than maybe these new people, and
Right.
yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Switching the perspective a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
um but this show
The one we actually have. And
yeah.
it's not just a pipe dream.
Yeah. So yeah, it was super interesting to consider that the first scene in this episode could have been the first scene of the season,
Mm-hmm.
and what they went through with is so much better. It's nice to see Locke, but that early, but I think we wasted a lot of time on Caesar and Alana, and those are characters we wouldn't know. In that opening scene. So I think that kind
Right.
of throws it out of the running for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
And it
guess.
would have been sorry, it would have been so long before we got back to them, right?
Yeah. It would have been
And we'd be like,
until
oh, those are the people from
these episodes.
first
Yeah,
episode.
exactly. I mean, I think what would happen is like we saw the plane, and when the outrigger thing happens, we would see the Ajir
Mm-hmm.
bottle, and we'd know, oh, that must be connected to that plane that Locke was on. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, and the pilot and some woman, like you could speculate, I guess, about that stuff,
Mhm.
which I think the opening they went with works in a similar way, but it is framed around Pierre Chang, which is a character we do actually know, so that it
Mhm.
gives it a little more weight than these like random nobodies.
Well, and it ends on Dan and
Yeah,
in the 70s with
in the
Dharma,
'70s.
which is a
Yeah,
huge question.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah. It's definitely more intriguing. I think that because of where the story goes, I think there's a logic to having the lock scene, but I think the other one is actually better. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm kind of ambivalent about it because I think there's it's kind of hiding what the main story is, and it's presenting this like tangent as though it's a bigger deal than it is, and that's the thing. That's the only thing that bothers me about what they went with. It's like, I don't know. It's more of a tease about something that doesn't actually matter that much.
Hmm. But it also connects to when they were time traveling and stuff too. So that was sort of
True.
important too to kind of get that
It's kind of the
context.
flip side of the whole like the pilot and some woman thing.
Hmm.
It's sort of like so and just seeing the Ajir plane, like how did they get here? Like how could he possibly be there? And I think I think it was the first episode when we realized they were time traveling. So I think you kind of guess that it must connect to that.
Hmm.
Even though you don't exactly know how, um, at that point. And I feel like, if you end the season on Locke in a coffin and you see Locke back on the island coming back to life, I mean, I think you have to assume that, you know, they came back with him and
That's the other thing too. I think it undercuts the drama even more about are they going to get to the island?
right.
Are they going to get back or
It
not?
does. That's true. I mean, by not showing like the main players in that story, including Ben, like because the Ben thing was only at the end of the episode.
Hmm.
That wasn't in that first scene, so we wouldn't have seen that. By not showing the other characters, it leaves open, like, I guess, whether they came or not. Even though, like,
Yeah, that's true.
you know, I feel like just by normal story logic, you can kind of assume that they probably came.
Hmm.
But kind of similar to, you can kind of assume that if there's time travel, probably that has something to do with why Faraday's in the '70s.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, so yeah, I think there would still be room for interpretation, but in either case, like technically, it's kind of a flash forward.
Hmm.
So I think either way, it has the flash forward paradox
Yeah.
of it kind of setting a defined point that they have to get to,
Hmm.
and that limits what the story can be. Um, so yeah, I think they're both questionable decisions. In a way, I kind of miss the previous season openings where, um, they were either flashbacks or present. You
Hmm.
know, um, and uh, and we could just like advance the story from there. Like it didn't have to be this, um, we'll tease you with a later thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're switching up their whole structure with their chronology this season and next season. It's definitely a
Yeah.
conscious thing, but yeah, it doesn't always work. Usually doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I think as a standalone, forgetting about the rest of the show, the Faraday scene's more interesting. No
Hmm.
question.
Yeah.
No question. Um, but
Because we get the Miles reveal too, right?
I don't think
Baby
you know it's
Miles.
Miles. I think you
Oh,
can
you don't.
speculate.
Oh, he doesn't say. And this is Baby
I
Miles.
don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think they revealed that the baby's Miles.
Hush now, Miles.
I think that would be probably that would probably be a theory. In fact, it probably was a theory. If you go back, because we did know that Miles had been on the island before.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that whole thing, and Dan's gonna say hi to little Charlotte.
Oh yeah. This crazy man came up to me and he was telling me all sorts of things. It was weird.
That's pretty good. That's her. You got her. And I'm remembering just in time to die. Sorry, mine's a little more Julia Childs.
Close enough.
All right, man. Well, I think we've solved the show once again.
We solve it every time.
Every time.
I don't know how.
Yeah, it should be the Lost Solve cast. We just
yeah.
solving left and right.
Solving Lost, one episode at a time.
All right. Well, what's the next episode?
La Fleur.
Oh, I've been missing me some Sawyer. All right. Well, I remember that being a particularly good episode.
Yeah. So, just to flip back to the 316 and Jeremy Bentham flipped around.
Oh yeah.
So if you remember, the cliffhanger in 316 is Jin shows up in the Dharma uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads into La Fleur.
So much better.
Much better than this does. But what they decided to do, which is something that, they've always done this on the show to some extent, if they have multiple story threads going, is they follow one and then switch back and then switch back. You know what I mean? You reach a certain point and then, so that's kind of what they went with by flipping them.
Yeah.
And the Caesar and Alana stuff definitely would have been different. We would see them in this episode, and then when we see them in 316, it would be like, oh, Alana was accompanying Saeed. That would actually be a reveal. Instead of the way it was, it's just like,
and it would set Caesar up to be suspicious when he sees Jack in the airport.
Yep.
He's on the island. I wonder why he's here. And
yeah, he's exploring the station, and it's. I remember thinking oh, Caesar's really gonna do something.
Yeah.
He's not gonna last long.
If it was season 1 or 2, he would have been a bigger character. But
yeah.
At this point in the show, there's no more room for big characters.
Room. You're out. Alana's barely gonna get.
Yeah. Yeah, and she has nepotism on her side.
Exactly.
She gets blowed up.
All right.
Well, we'll be back next time with the floor.
Yeah. See you then.
Thanks and namaste.
Namaste and good luck.